Sherlock Holmes, The Riddle of the Midnight Portrait. Part 1. An Unusual Invitation. It was a damp November evening in London when a rare summons arrived at 221B Baker Street. Dr. John Watson was just finishing his notes by the fire when a nervous knock at the door announced the arrival of a peculiar visitor. In strode Miss Eleanor Ashcroft, a striking, elegant woman with eyes that held both sorrow and determination. "Mr. Holmes," she began, voice trembling yet resolute, "I have come with a matter of utmost urgency." She placed an aged, intricately carved wooden box on the table. Inside lay a portrait of a man shrouded in shadow, the painting's title reading simply, "The Midnight Man." "This portrait," she explained, "has been passed down in my family for generations. But now, strange occurrences and cryptic messages have begun to plague us, and I fear there is a dark secret hidden behind its painted eyes." Holmes leaned forward, his gaze fixed intently on the portrait. "Miss Ashcroft, every object has its story," he mused. "Tell me everything." Part 2. The Clues Unfold. Over steaming cups of tea, Eleanor recounted the strange events. Footsteps echoing in the empty corridors of Ashcroft Manor at midnight, whispers in rooms long abandoned, and a series of riddles scrawled on antique letters that hinted at a long-forgotten betrayal within her family. Holmes's mind whirred with possibilities. He noted the brushstrokes on the portrait, the peculiar symbolism of the moon and stars in the background, and the meticulous carving on the box. "I suspect there is more to this painting than mere inheritance," he declared. "It appears to be a key, perhaps to a secret hidden within the manor itself." The next morning, accompanied by Watson and Miss Ashcroft, Holmes travelled to the Ashcroft estate nestled on the outskirts of London. The manor, with its ivy-clad walls and shadowed corridors, exuded an air of melancholy mystery. As they examined the grand hall, Holmes's sharp eyes caught a series of faded inscriptions along the baseboard and behind a heavy, carved panel in the library. Part 3. The Hidden Chamber. Following the clues, Holmes directed Watson and Eleanor to move a set of ancient bookcases. With a creak, a concealed door slowly swung open, revealing a narrow spiral staircase descending into darkness. With only a lantern's glow to guide them, the trio ventured into the depths below. At the bottom, they discovered a small chamber lined with dusty tomes and relics of the past. In the center of the room stood a pedestal upon which rested a ledger, its pages filled with coded entries, dates, and names. Holmes carefully deciphered the script, discovering it detailed secret transactions and betrayals dating back several generations in the Ashcroft lineage. "Your family," he explained, "was entangled in a covert scheme, a web of loyalties and treacheries. The portrait, it seems, was commissioned as a memorial to a man whose actions changed the course of your family's fate. But who was he, and what was his role in this dark history?" Eleanor's eyes glistened as she listened, and Watson scribbled notes with a mixture of fascination and concern. Part 4. The Midnight Revelation. That very night, the manor was shrouded in an eerie silence. Holmes, ever vigilant, decided to spend the night in the chamber. As the clock neared midnight, a sudden rustle and a faint whisper echoed among the relics. Holmes and Watson sprang into action, following the sound to a narrow corridor adjacent to the chamber. There, concealed behind a tattered tapestry, they uncovered a hidden door leading to a forgotten part of the manor. Beyond lay a secret study, illuminated by the moonlight filtering through a stained glass window. On the desk sat an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. Holmes carefully read the entries, which recounted the life of a man known only as Edmund Blackwood, the very subject of the portrait. Blackwood, it turned out, had been a trusted confidant to the Ashcroft patriarch, only to be betrayed and framed for treachery by those who coveted his influence. The journal revealed that Blackwood had left behind evidence that could exonerate him and restore honor to the family name. However, his enemies had conspired to suppress the truth, sealing it away within the portrait symbolism and the secret chamber below. Part 5. Justice Restored. With all the evidence laid bare, Holmes convened a meeting with Miss Ashcroft and the trusted members of her household. He explained that the strange happenings were not the work of ghosts or mere superstition but the echoes of past injustice seeking resolution. "Your family's honor must be restored, and the truth of Edmund Blackwood's loyalty and sacrifice must be recognized," he stated firmly. In the days that followed, Holmes worked tirelessly to unearth additional documents from the manor's archives. His deductions, combined with the tangible evidence from the ledger and journal, were enough to compel local authorities to reopen an old investigation into Blackwood's case. In a long overdue public inquiry, the real culprits, a group of influential figures who had manipulated events for personal gain, were exposed, and Blackwood's name was cleared. Miss Ashcroft, with a newfound sense of relief and purpose, vowed to preserve the true history of her family. The portrait of the Midnight Man was carefully restored and placed in a dedicated gallery at the manor, a symbol of the resilience of truth and the enduring power of justice. Back at Baker Street, as Holmes and Watson sat by the fire reflecting on the case, Watson remarked, "Once again, Holmes, you have shown that the past, no matter how deeply it is buried, always finds a way to speak its truth." Holmes only smiled, his eyes twinkling with that familiar, secretive light.